Good afternoon, everyone. At the core of assessment in mathematics is the student. It's the student who tells us what they know and can do and what they understand that we use to plan and implement learning experiences for the student. During a lesson, we'll also get more information from them that we will use to formatively adapt lessons. And summatively, at the end of a lesson or at the end of a unit, we will interpret information to use for reporting or for planning for upcoming units of learning for the students. Cunningham tells us there's three types of assessment. Assessment for learning, which are essentially diagnostic tasks early in a unit or before a unit has started. Assessment as learning, so these are more informal interactions that happen between students and a teacher during lessons, which can be used formatively to change what's happening based on immediate needs. And assessment of learning, which are essentially summative assessments at the end of a unit, used for reporting and such. Okay, so here we can see the descriptors for primary school for pattern and algebra from the Australian curriculum overlaid on Bruner's conceptual model of the spiral curriculum. Teachers can assess students and move them up or down within a unit based on their demonstrated ability and need. Now, as assessment strategies go, we could use work samples to assess what students know. So here we've got the results of an open-ended task where students were asked to create and describe patterns based on colour and shape or both. Now, these samples give us some information, but the information is going to come to us after the lesson for the most part. So it's not timely, so we need to use more strategies to get a full picture of what the students can do with patterns, be it adapting, extending, or representing them in other ways. Okay, so we can observe the students. Now, observation tells us more. For assessment purposes, we can use observation to make some formative decisions. However, we may not detect all the students' misconceptions or the depth of their thinking mathematically through observation, so we need to do more. And there's also an issue with lack of recording and teacher reflection. That means observation may not be optimal in some cases, application. In terms of questioning, we can use questioning, particularly higher order questioning, for gauging students' conceptual understanding, metacognition and reflective thought. But however, if we use closed questions or we don't use probing questions that really tell us when students are masking their difficulties by telling the teacher what the teacher wants to hear, we also might not pick up on assumptions that we have made as teachers if we don't probe for what the students are really thinking and understanding and doing and the reasoning behind it. So, in terms of journals and portfolios, this can allow the students to communicate understanding, but it's usually understanding that reflects the values of the teacher and what the teacher has told the students is important. So if we consider these samples, the student here describes the shape and colour patterns made in the portfolio reflection piece, but there's no mention of repetition, numerical or letter pattern-based understanding. And this student's written reflection indicates that the colour pattern was made without any reference to the shape patterns that are apparent, or repetition, or transferability either. So, how can we use the data that we collect? Okay, so in terms of record keeping, the teacher might keep a record here in terms of anecdotal notes, as Ray's refers to, or rubrics or checklists. Then put those into student files, combine that information with students' portfolio samples, reflections, and we can use that for formal reporting, which goes to external authorities, parents, school leaders, etc., to use as part of the ongoing assessment and reporting process. However, at the core of what we do as teachers, while we're constantly assessing our students, is the student. However, our reporting needs to be focused, it needs to be recorded, in order for us to make justifiable reports and decisions on an ongoing basis. Thank you for listening.